Welcome to Ad Age Studio 30 Live. I'm John Dioso, the editor of Ad Age Studio 30. Today we're going to talk about how unified identity maximizes customer data and business growth. And joining me today to explain exactly how all that works are Devon DeBlasio, Director of Product Marketing at Neustar, Nicole Norder, Senior Product Manager at Carrot Health, and Henry Lee, Head of Technology Partnerships at Treasure Data. Thank you all for joining me. And thank you everyone out there for joining us. Please drop us a note and say hi and let us know where you're tuning in from. All right. For almost a year now, a full year now, talk about the death of cookies and the cookieless future has dominated the news in ad tech. Devon, what impact has Google's announcement that it would delay third-party cookie deprecation from Chrome until the end of 23 had on the ad tech world and on marketers' plans to devise new customer data solutions? In other words, where are we now?
So it's a great question. We're, in a very strange void in terms of wanting to prepare for something that may never come in terms of Google actually removing the cookie and ripping it out from underneath our feet. But also it's really created for many of the advertisers that Neustar works with, the Fortune 500, Fortune 100 advertisers, it's really taken, allowed them to take a better look and take stock of their own data assets. Without cookies, without device IDs, without IP address, and all of these other ubiquitous identifiers, many marketers are asking, what is left behind? How do I stitch together a journey of my customers and consumers? How do I stitch together an analysis of their cross-channel engagement with my brand? And how do I understand the value as well as the risk in terms of using my data, using my partner's data, and using publishers' data to generate personalized experiences or cross-channel measurement? And the value that we've seen, even with the delay in Chrome's announcement, is that we have seen advertisers really start to think more clearly about what their first-party data means, how to better use it, as well as how to access other first-party data assets. Because without these cookies and other identifiers, first-party data will essentially, rule the nest. And there will be other ways in which, things like contextual and cohorts and clean rooms will come into play. But in the short term, everyone is focused on their data, both publishers and advertisers. And so we've really seen advertisers take hold of that, take stock, like I said earlier, of their first-party data assets, figure out how to increase and enrich those assets, but also how to protect them because their relationship with consumers is more important now than ever. As that first-party relationship is the lifeblood of their organization. And you can say the same thing for the publishers and platforms out there, the media owners and content owners. They have a very similar, if not the exact same task in terms of creating a transparent bridge and connection to garner more, consented first-party data access so that we actually can collaborate in an effective and efficient way without having to rely on these anonymous and often kind of very confusing and potentially harmful identifiers.
Harmful. That's a good word. I'll have to revisit that in a bit. And also, you mentioned first-party data, which we have been hearing a lot about as as the solution, or the main solution that a lot of marketers are going to need to be leaning into. I think that's a perfect place to bring in Nicole. Nicole, tell us a little bit about Carrot Health and what's Carrot's place in the customer data ecosystem and the healthcare market.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us here today. So Carrot Health is a healthcare data and analytics company. And really what we're doing, we're at the center of helping health payers and insurance companies really find the right consumers in the market to grow their business, as well as using and augmenting their own membership data. So you think about first-party data, we're taking in all of their data, we're taking in data from Neustar, other brokers, other public data within the market. We're really trying to use that data to help them better understand who their current members are for retention purposes, ensuring that they're engaged, helping them along their journey of healthcare, helping them stay connected to the plan and helping them stay on the plan, as well as we're helping those payers and health plans find other consumers in the market that we're able to use that data to build predictive analytics and models so they can better understand who their right target audience is and using that data to enable their downstream processes for finding those consumers in traditional marketing media platforms as well as on digital platforms. And one of the really big advantages that we have with partnering with Neustar is that Neustar offers a super robust, not only set of consumer data that we're able to use and strengthen insights on their own membership as well as consumers at large. Neustar also provides to us a really robust data set of accurate phone numbers to increase accuracy of contacting these individuals, both either prospective members or their own members, as well as a large database of really high quality email addresses.
Before I'm going to throw it back to Devon for a little bit to give us a little bit more insight into how you guys work together to build those data sets. But before I do that, I just wanted to, I think we should bring up, that the last year especially, since you are in the healthcare market, what has been the effect of the COVID pandemic, and how has that affected how you interact with your clients, and what type of new data have you been getting from them? Can you share a little bit of that with our audience today?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely the COVID-19 pandemic has really hit healthcare hard in lots of facets. One of the biggest ones is that we help a lot of our customers really promote finding and growing Medicare Advantage plans. So consumers that are 65 plus in the market. Traditionally, 65 plus consumers were on the newer end of digital technology. We had kind of some adopters, but I would say overall adoption within the digital space for 65 plus consumers was just starting to evolve. And we've seen in the last year that it has taken off like crazy. And it's causing a lot of, traditional marketing teams on the healthcare side to really rethink their marketing strategy and think about how are they going to engage these consumers digitally. They weren't really set up for those types of campaigns. They aren't as familiar with the digital landscape. And so it's really accelerated that need for a multi-channel approach.
So Devon, I wanted to throw it to you so you can kind of shine a little bit more light about how Neustar and Carrot have been working together in this. But can you also comment on maybe through the lens of what Nicole just said?
Yeah, obviously, the name of the game here is data strategy. So for Carrot Health specifically, our goal and our job and our role as a partner of theirs is to help them maximize that data strategy, not only in utilizing the data, enriching the data, giving them more access to higher quality, high performing, addresses and emails, phone numbers, providing that information to them to use in a privacy first way, but it's also about what are you doing with the data? How are you actually going to be using that for your downstream vendors, for your downstream clients? Are you going to be using it for retention? Are you going to be using it for acquisition? And obviously the rules are very different in terms of using something for acquisition versus retention and the types of data that can be utilized. So Neustar is really sitting there as the hub, the data center hub for Carrot, and providing them with access to the data, but also helping them utilize the data in the right way, making sure we're maximizing scale and accuracy for both retention and for acquisition. And specifically for the healthcare industry, that's obviously a very, very secure and highly privatized world, right? So obviously Neustar is a HIPAA compliant organization. And we know that usually when you're working with an insurance provider, a healthcare provider, you're going to give them the best data possible about yourself, because that's what you do, just like you're going to give the best data possible to a financial services institution. But there are instances where, things can slip through the cracks, data gets stale, data gets eroded. And so our job is just to maintain that singular, protected, and highly valuable identity graph for Carrot for them to use for all of their clients downstream, and also making sure that when they're building, acquisition-based campaigns, we're giving them the highest scale and accuracy for those digital engagements as possible. As we said earlier, omnichannel is really the way to go today. So whether they're on their phone, they're driving down the highway and they see a billboard, or they're logging into the computer or their iPad, we need to make sure that that experience is cohesive, it's relevant, and it's also inclusive of the relationship that they have created with Carrot Health's clients in the insurance and healthcare industry.
Maybe we can get a little bit into those marketing strategies a little bit later. But first, I want to bring in Henry. Henry, what is the CDP perspective on third-party data deprecation? Love to get your perspective on that. And also, maybe you can also piggyback on what Nicole and Devon just said, talking a little bit about how that applies in the healthcare market.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having us. Great question on this. So, treasure data, just a quick background. CDP, what is it? CDP stands for Customer Data Platform. And we talk about first-party data. CDPs actually is a repository of first-party customer data. Think of enterprises that want a place to kind of house all this stuff. A CDP is an always-on, always available repository of customer data. And what's different about CDPs from a traditional data repository is that we actually have connectors to a lot of different types of external systems and platforms. And what this does is that it allows a marketer to really stitch together all the different type of data fragments about an individual, the types of email campaigns that Mary Smith has engaged with, the types of purchases she's made, how much, when, and where. A CDP allows a marketer to really take all this rich information about an individual customer and stitch them together into a single unified profile of that individual, about Mary Smith. And then subsequently, if they want to do something with that information, they can. The CDP typically has connectors to a lot of email automation systems, to a lot of customer engagement platforms, analytical tools, hundreds sometimes. So essentially, CDP plays an essential role in letting a marketer know everything about what their customer's doing at any given point in time. We are seeing a lot of interest around the deprecation of third-party cookies, primarily because, as Devon and Nicole had mentioned before, really the world is kind of shifting towards first-party identifiers. First-party identifiers meaning the deterministic identifiers like phone number, email addresses, postal addresses that a customer has provided to a business with consent, so that there's no guesswork needed in saying, hey, I want to reach Mary Smith with a personalized offer. How do I do that? Traditionally, third-party cookies have provided a lot of marketers with scale. So if they have 100,000 known customers, they want to reach 1 million new ones, a prospecting campaign, a third-party cookie strategy could allow them to do that. The conversation we're having now with our customers and with our various technology partners really is around what will the world look like after cookies go away. And so there's been a lot of interest around, say, the post-cookie world. There's been a lot of different, workaround solutions around that. Neustar is actually building something out that's really interesting. So yes, we are definitely seeing a lot of interest. Some concern, but more like just what are the possibilities after third-party cookies go away.
And before we proceed, I just wanted to, if you're just joining us now, I want to say this is Ad Age Studio 30 Live. I'm John Dioso, and I'm being joined by Neustar's Devon DeBlasio, Carrot Health's Nicole Norder, and Treasure Data's Henry Lee. And we're talking about how unified identity maximizes customer data and business growth. Nicole, Devon, we were talking about third-party cookies going away, and Henry just referred to it again. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the whole first-party thing. How has this affected what you've seen in the marketplace right now, and what kind of roadmap or timeline is Carrot building for your clients to adopt alternate data solutions?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there was that onset panic of it going away, and then people trying to figure out how to pivot, and how are we really going to continue to deliver campaigns that are both meaningful, and also finding out exactly, how do we track those consumers? I think one of the big things that we're helping with Carrot on the Carrot Health side and really helping health plans understand is there's a lot of different integral pieces within the consumer journey as people come in and out of the engagement funnel, and really where Carrot Health is helping and will be critical as this landscape continues to change is really helping you find that initial set of consumers or better understanding your current members so that you can use that data to the best of your ability to engage them. And then as the third party and just like the cookies go away, it's going to be harder to do some of those traditional tracking pieces. And that's where the advanced analytics of Carrot Health will really come in to really understand who was that initial audience that we were going after, who were those initial set of consumers, and really what happened to them on the back end. Did they ultimately convert or didn't they convert? And really what was the overall conversion rate and downstream implication of that campaign, which to Treasure Data's point is a great place where Carrot Health and the Neustar data really plug into that multi channel marketing approach and really understanding what's happening within that ecosystem.
Devon, how does, the terms get thrown around a lot, and, I think people have a general understanding of what they mean. Third-party data, third-party cookies going away. First-party data is paramount. People talk a little bit of second-party data. Can you just explain, maybe give everybody a short explainer about how this all plays into the concept of unified identity? And Henry, please feel free to jump in as well.
Yeah, so unified identity is both a concept as well as a solution that Neustar has brought to market over the past few months. And Carrot Health currently utilizes it today. And the concept is pretty simple. It's the connection of offline and online data that can be used for both retention and acquisition. And so we've all talked about through this conversation, first party, second party, third party data, offline data, online data. You have digital device identifiers, you have PEI and PII. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of data nested in the vast corners of the internet as well as in the physical world. And so the goal is to really just create a truth set, create a single golden record or profile of both a consumer for prospecting as well as a member in the case of Carrot Health for retention-based engagements. And then just managing and protecting that profile over time. Someone's changing their address or their phone number or their email if they're an existing consented member. We want to make sure we're giving that information back to Carrot and their clients in real time. We also are looking at the digital sphere for prospecting and connecting all of the different types of engagements and conversions and activities that are happening on the vast network of connected and physical experiences that are being put out there for advertising. We want to make sense of that. And so the main goal for unified identity is to unify all of the identity signal that exists. And identity to us and to our clients is really just the relationship between a consumer or a member and the advertiser or the brand, right? Whatever information they are providing and whatever experience that they are agreeing to essentially be put into or have put onto them is what we want to manage over time. And so for Neustar and unified identity, the concept is that everyone, every brand, every publisher needs to focus on unifying their view of identity, that 360-degree view, so to speak, but then understanding how it can then be used effectively, the most effectively now, as well as in the future without cookies and device IDs. So in addition to unified identity with that single golden record, that single consolidated kind of profile of the consumer and the members, we're also figuring out ways in which we can use that data without cookies or device IDs. So we have a data connectivity platform called Fabric, and Carrot and all of our clients are able to use that to then push signal out and pull information back in from their various platforms and publishers without having to rely on cookies and mobile ad IDs. So whatever they're doing today to build their industry, to build a data strategy and activate it, we want to have them focus on that and not focus on ID deprecation or privacy legislation. We're going to take care of that for them with unified identity and the Fabric data connectivity platform.
You guys are heroes. Now, you've been mentioning a little bit, everybody has a little bit, we were talking about omnichannel opportunities. And I think I'd like to spend the remaining few minutes we have kind of maybe talking a little bit about that. What are the omnichannel opportunities that you think that marketers haven't taken advantage of and now can because of the changes that have come about? I mean, toward this, how do we turn whatever they may perceive the third-party cookies going away as lemons into lemonade? What do we do? Devon, do you want to start and then we can go around?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really about that trusted connection that you have with your consumer. So understanding the incrementality of what types of channels and devices and ways in which a consumer or customer wants to be reached, and investing in those and doubling down on those pathways and divesting from anywhere where you're not seeing engagement, anywhere you're seeing people opt out. You want to make sure that you're creating a pathway and creating a connection that will last the test of time, not only through a deprecation of IDs and privacy, but just listening to your customers and your clients or your members, understanding what type of engagement they're giving to you, what type of feedback or signal they're giving to you, capturing that and then using it the best way possible, and then making sure you're looking at the entire spectrum of your engagement with that customer, member, or client across every single engagement possible over time. That's not easy to do, but you have to do it in order to actually get the full spectrum of your relationship so that you're not making bad decisions and you're essentially making the best decision possible for that next best interaction with that member or that customer.
Henry, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, just to jump in, yeah, so we're definitely seeing, I guess, in terms of omnichannel, in terms of third-party cookies going away, we are seeing more and more brands, our customers, um, putting more of an investment on ways to really reach out and better understand who their end customers are, and this is particularly noteworthy within CPG, consumer packaged goods. Now, traditionally, if you make beverages, for example, you don't have direct line of sight of who's actually buying your beverage. Typically, people go to a supermarket or a grocery store, a convenience store to buy, say, a Coke or a Pepsi. But and traditionally, like the marketers who are in charge of these brands, they haven't really had direct line of sight into who's buying their product, when and the feedback that they get. Now with sort of the elevation of first party data, you're seeing more and more. We're seeing more of our brands, for example, launching mobile apps that are geared towards really understanding who their end customers are, what they're likely to buy, and what their interests are. Sort of creating that direct channel with the end customer versus an indirect channel, which traditionally had been governed by third party cookies. And so I think that's actually a positive thing because that's just kind of builds that trust and accountability that Devon had sort of talked about. We really think that now this is an era of consent and transparency between the marketers and the customers, and I guess we're definitely seeing that trend happen.
Nicole, can you weigh in a little bit about how it's been working in the healthcare market? Not just omnichannel opportunities in healthcare, but also beyond. Are there other marketing opportunities that people can use their data for in that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things, and kind of just a common thread across this group is like, just because some of the cookie data is going away, the end consumer is still going to expect a personalized experience and an experience that was tailored to them and to their interests and likes. And I think that we're definitely seeing that in the healthcare space. I think primarily in the past, healthcare hasn't been overly targeted with their messaging and their communication, and it's going to become really paramount and important, especially as these digital arms continue to grow, that they find a way to really better understand their consumer to increase that personalization, and then really track them through the journey to both, as a member and as a prospective member, and using some of that additional data and insights, especially as more of the healthcare space goes with virtual care and in less in-person appointments and things like that.
Great. I think we have time for one last question remaining. We have a couple of minutes left. I'd love to go around again and just ask you, just regarding the whole theme of today, maximizing customer data to grow your business, what would be the one takeaway that each of you would have, for our audience today? Let's start with Nicole, since she answered the last question, go to Henry, and then Devon. Nicole, you go first.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is using all of the data, all of the different interactions that you have on your membership to learn about your members, learn why they're staying with you, learn why they're coming to you, learning what driving their behaviors. And not only is that going to inform growth of your plan or growth of your product, but also inform what products you should be bringing to the market, and really getting that holistic view of the consumer has been key, and it's going to continue to be really key to have a successful a marketing plan.
Henry?
Yeah, I would say that digital marketing it's constantly evolving. It's becoming more complex, and there's no single technology provider, no single data provider that can do everything on its own. Partnerships is really important, and so we partner with Neustar on leveraging their unified identity solutions within our CDP for specific customers. We work with data providers like Carrot Health to help enhance and improve, say, predictive scoring for our customers and customers. And so I guess the takeaway here is, we all just really need to work together, and on how to actually, build a solution that really crosses the boundaries of, any one company. So keep partnering.
And Devon, your last words.
Yeah, I would agree with
Not ever, just for today.
I would agree with the parting, but the major takeaway is, you just take care of your data. Your data is your lifeblood. It will be the differentiation you have in market now and in the future. It's more important than it's ever been before. So before you use your data, make sure your data is accurate. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure it's as enriched as possible before you use it for any sort of downstream use case. That would be my biggest feedback across the board. And secondarily, make sure you understand where your data is going, who's actually touching your data, how your data is actually being transferred across different platforms across your tech stack. We see this time and time again at Neustar that the data we receive from many of our clients, whether they're someone who has really great data like a financial services or a healthcare organization, or not so great data like a CPG or a QSR, we need to make sure the data is accurate. But also as it moves across the technological stack, through your CDP, through your DMP, through your DSP, and all the other acronyms, there's going to be data loss and data deprecation and fragmentation that's going to occur. Make sure you're aware of where the leaky bucket syndrome is occurring and making sure you're fixing that, you're patching it up. Or you're just centralizing all of those assets, all of those services, all of those silos into one or a handful of trusted partners. The less times your data is going to move hands or transfer from one system to another, the less likely you're going to have leakage or fragmentation in that data itself. And you're going to see, that come back to you in dividends in terms of the performance, accuracy, and scale of your data if you handle that data as best you can.
That's great. Well, that's unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank Devon DeBlasio, the Director of Product Marketing at Neustar, Nicole Norder, the Senior Product Manager of Carrot Health, and Henry Lee, the Head of Technology Partnerships at Treasure Data. Thank you for joining me, and thanks to everyone out there for joining us today. Bye, everybody.